Whenever you're ready.
Okay.
Hey everybody, this is Kanal with Black Man Travels. Happy Sunday. This is definitely a great pleasure to have an opportunity to speak to Max. But before we speak to Max, just wondering how everyone else is doing. I just got back from a brunch. Met with my boy Glenn out here in Atlanta. We went out to get some brunch. You know, the brunch scene in Atlanta is very alcoholish, and we went out had some couple of drinks. I think what pissed me off the most was that the bartender ran a $150 tab on my receipt, even though I just brought two drinks.
Oh,
So yeah, yeah, man, and it's just like, how the hell you gonna charge me 150? You swipe my card. I only ordered two drinks, and that's why like I'm always been like I'm starting not understanding the reason to go out here in the States. It just don't make any sense. In order for you to get a table to buy something to eat, you gotta buy a bottle. They're like, are
right,
you serious?
right.
So yeah, that was my Sunday, man. Just going out. I mean, I was happy to go out and grab something to eat and have a couple of drinks. But I'm just realizing like the amount of money we spend going out in the States is just a waste. That's a plane ticket. That's an experience overseas. And
Uh,
I know Max, you were here about a month ago, man. You were complaining about the amount of money you're spending in Atlanta.
oh my God, I was there and I went out and I got a hamburger. It was a chicken burger, and it was like $9, not including the drinks and the sides. By the time I added all of that stuff, it was 20 something bucks. And
Yeah.
I was like, again, it was good, but 20 something bucks for a burger and a drink.
Yeah. Hey, you know what, Max? Do not go to Miami. You go to Miami, and especially in South Beach, you order a burger and a couple of drinks, that's $85.
Uh,
$85, man. And that's why, like, I mean, I don't mind because I live here in the States. Like, I want to go out and have a good time and meet
right.
people and see people. But dude, man, the cost is ridiculous. And you know what? And the thing is, the end of the cause doesn't justify the means. It just doesn't make any sense.
I went out last this Friday night, right?
Mhm.
Had some good news during the week, and I wanted to go out and celebrate. I go out most weekends, but we went to a new restaurant where the chef was just given some accolades worldwide for her abilities or some recognition globally,
Mhm.
right? First time at this restaurant. Had we both had very nice dishes, white tablecloths, live music,
Nice,
nice
nice.
lighting, beautiful decor, right in the center of everything. The bill came to 100 with the tip. Came to 114,000 Colombian pesos. That is
Like $30.
like yeah, like
Yeah.
30 bucks for me and my wife. And the music was good. I mean, 30 bucks. So pretty much for a little bit more than what I paid for that chicken burger and some fries, me and my lady could go out and have a nice time on the
it,
town.
it
Nice service.
it just doesn't make any sense, man. And that's why you live overseas. And that's why you're the expat having an amazing life in Cartagena, Colombia, which leads to our topic for today, guys. Today, I have the amazing pleasure to have Max on on my platform to talk about the five top things in having an amazing expat life in Colombia. Yes, Colombia.
Yes, Colombia.
And just want to give everybody a breakdown. I've been in Colombia. I've been going to Colombia since 2016. The first trip to Colombia, I did a three-city tour where I went to Medellin, Cali, and Cartagena. And I did all three cities in 6 days.
All right.
Yeah, I did a whole backpack where I went 2 days in Medellin, 2 days in Cali, and 2 days in Cartagena. And that was an amazing experience for me. And since then, I've been to Colombia like over 15 times. I've been to multiple cities. Yeah, I mean, it got to the point where I was going to Colombia so much, like especially on Spirit Airlines. I actually bought one ticket. I shit you not, from Fort Lauderdale to Medellin for $62 on Spirit Airlines.
I could believe it, man. I know I've gotten the crazy deals going back and forth, so I could believe it.
And guys, keep in mind when I was going to Colombia, this is before the YouTube craze. Like I was going to Colombia, I used to, At that time, I was like probably one of the few black guys in the plane. And I'll walk around. They were like, especially like, you in Pacajeres or you out in Cali, they were like, look at you. They think you're Colombian until I start speaking. It's like, oh shit, you're not Colombian. Because
Right.
you're dark skinned and everything else. But now, Colombia has become a popular destination where tons of people are going. And one of the things I have to say out of the big three, when I say the big three, Colombia, Brazil, Dominican Republic, if I were ever to expat, it'll be in Colombia. Simply the fact that Colombia just have a way better infrastructure between all three of them, the
Mm-hmm.
weather,
Mm-hmm.
the cost of living between all
Mm-hmm.
three, the infrastructure, and two, I mean, Colombia has a variety of different tastes, if you catch my drift,
Let's
of
just go right
flavors.
to it. Some
Yeah.
of the most beautiful women in the world are here.
Yeah, man. So again, this is the whole topic for today. I have Max, and Max, take a moment to introduce yourself to
Right.
the audience, and let's have this conversation.
Well, let's just start out where, I'm an expat. I'm originally from New York. I've lived in a few places in my lifetime. I lived in Canada. I lived in Belize, where my grandparents are from. I've lived in Florida and I lived in Atlanta prior to finding Colombia as my new home. I'm in my 40s. I'm quite honest, I'm almost 50. I'm in technology and just been a serial entrepreneur through most of my life. Some of that was with some big booms and sometimes it was setbacks and heartaches. But my life's journey brought me here to Colombia on an unexpected route. Um, uh, I, I I was married for over 20 years. A couple of kids. Kids was and my oldest was in college. My youngest was about to go into college when I got divorced, and I found myself uh, working and going through the same rut that I was doing when I was married. Like, come home from work, fight traffic, get to the house,
I've
and then I
been
would
there.
get there, and I was like, well, "There's nobody here, right? Like, why did I rush through traffic? Like, I could have been hanging out downtown Atlanta. Like I didn't have to come home."
Yeah,
And then it clicked for me. It was like I don't even have to be. I'm in tech. I don't have to even come to this house. Matter of fact, I don't have to come to this state. I matter. I don't even have to be in this country. And so I found myself realizing that I can move myself someplace else. And so I found myself here. And if I can, I mean, I can start by telling you my story, or I can start by just jumping into these things that people are wanting to see. What are these things that, in my opinion, help me unlock the expat life? Well, the first thing, get your mind ready.
yes,
When I was going through that phase in my life, I was mentally in a place where I was stuck, right? And so I had to open up and accept that my life was different. I had to open up and accept that I didn't want the same results that I had before. And then I had to really reevaluate what I wanted. Um, and I had to make a list of what I wanted for my life. Right? I made a list of. Someone encouraged me to come up with like a list of 10 things I wanted to see in my life, and I was doing
Mhm.
that while I was going through my divorce. And those 10 things all led me to sort of realizing that well, a side effect of me making that list was that I didn't want to be in the United States. Now, okay, let me take a step back. I said I lived in other countries before I came here, right? As a kid, right? My mom moved us to Canada. As a kid, I lived with my grandparents in Belize. So as an adult, I never lived out overseas, right? But having that experience as a young man, as a child, like I saw other places and how other people live. I remember going to Canada going, oh my God, this place is so clean. It's nothing like Brooklyn. I remember going to Belize and saying, oh my God, the people are so friendly and laid back and chill. And I really like this. You're like, if people treated me like family, I really like those things. And I remember saying that I could see myself when I retire moving to Belize. And that was a theme that I had tried to promote with my ex-wife. The idea that retiring in the United States was probably going to be very difficult for us, even though we had a upper middle class lifestyle. But I didn't see how I was going to get us to the place of retirement if I imagined just saving my way there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I go back to getting your mind ready, right? Because if I would have continued with the old mindset of, all right, save to retirement and save for retirement, and when I get to retirement, now I can relax. I don't think I would be able to do. I'd be still doing that right now, right? I
Well,
would still be doing that right now in the States, trying to get to some imaginary number with my nest egg so that I could one day relax. But yeah.
well, you're saying amazing something. You say something amazing. Here's the crazy thing about this, right? A lot of people have this crazy number in their head of retirement, and
Yeah.
as you said before, you have to be mentally ready for it. Most men and women are not ready to retire, not financially, but mentally. So they want this. They're looking for this number to go ahead and just make this big move, make this big transition. But they don't understand this expat life could start before you even retire, depending on what profession that you're in.
Exactly. I'm not retired, right? But
Yeah.
I don't collect a pension, but I did some things in my life that helped me get financially ready. But I'm going to talk
Yes.
about that later because that's one of these that's coming up a little bit later in the discussion. But in that section of getting your mind ready, like I realized that I was putting limits on myself.
Yes.
I couldn't imagine myself living like this, right? 6 years ago, if you would ask me, I would not even had Colombia on my mind. Maybe Belize, but not Colombia.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and it was only through having conversations and having exposure to people. Like this is the Black Man's Travel Group. Great place for us to connect with people of like minds.
Thank you.
I I wasn't part of the group back then, but I have a friend, long-term friend, known him for 30 years, and he was coming back and forth to Colombia for like 9 years. So he put me
Wow.
on game, right?
Oh, he was going to Colombia before the
Yes.
madness, what you see now. So
Yes.
he
Yeah.
probably seen like some really awesome things before then.
Exactly. So he not just Colombia too, but specifically Colombia. He was like, "Oh yeah, you come and check it out." And at that time, I was dating a girl in Mexico, right?
Mm.
So yeah, it was weird. Like as soon as my mind opened up, like wow, I could actually do this, right? And then I was seeing my friend. He was working remotely and he was going back and forth to Colombia. And I was looking at my situation. I was going, wait a second, I'm in a better situation than him. I mean, I could work remote. I got all this other. I'm in a better position to do what he's doing. And he would send me pictures of him at like restaurants and pools and beaches with pretty women. And I'm going, oh my God, you my boy. But I hate you. I love you, but I hate you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But I was like, I could do this, right? And then it clicked for me, like I really can do it. And before I ventured out into this, what I did was started traveling and trying to work remotely on the down low. And,
Yeah.
and like many other people,
I've done
hey,
that a few times. You gotta be careful.
I was worried about the internet. Like, is the internet going to work for me
Yeah.
when I get to XYZ country? And I was really nervous about that. Like, I can't let nobody know. And so what happened was the first time I did that, I was in Belize and I was working, and I was surprised at how well the internet worked just on my American cell phone. My American cell phone was working for me in Belize. At many places, like I just had to pay like $5 a day for the high speed internet. But once I
Yeah.
paid for that, oh my God, it was like there was no difference. I was like, oh, what? And then I went to Mexico and I did the same thing. It was like, oh, shoot, I could be in Mexico, be in the meetings, do all my work, and then in the evening go out and enjoy where I'm at. Oh my God, this is the bomb. So then,
I was doing that, Max, back in 2015 in Dominican Republic. But my issue with Dominican Republic working remotely was those damn blackouts.
mm,
So, and of course, at the time, I was a project manager back then, and I had to facilitate, meetings.
right.
And dude, I get super nervous with the possibility of, of the electricity going out.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember once I was doing a presentation, the power went out,
Ooh,
and I was scrambling, and I couldn't get power until the next day. And of course, I got in trouble, written
right,
up to
right.
HR and everything else. And I learned from that lesson, if I want to work remotely, I need to have Wi-Fi, like 100% Wi-Fi. If I got to bring my own shit, or I got to like pay extra, like
Yeah.
pay more, like stay in a more expensive area where there's
Mhm.
guaranteed, generators and everything else, I do that. And
Right.
so for any guys who working remotely, who think about working remotely, make sure don't be cheap. Don't be cheap. Don't stay in a cheap place where the Wi-Fi is very spotty. Make sure you invest in an area where there's guaranteed Wi-Fi or backup generator to keep the power going. Because the worst you want to do working remotely is you become sloppy and due to power outage and you lose your job.
Yep. Yep.
Max, you got the floor. I'm sorry.
No, no, that's I've lived that certainly. So once I realized that I can do that, even with my own cell phone, that unlocked a bunch of stuff. And so my boy came to me and told me about Colombia. Now the girl I was dating, that I met in Cancun, I went back and forth a couple of times from Atlanta. You can get flights for $200 round trip to Cancun, so it was no big deal to go back and forth. Um, but I just started dating her, and I was invited to go to Colombia. And my boy said to me, "Yo, how's your Spanish?" I was like, "My Spanish sucks." The girl I was dating with in Mexico, she spoke perfect English, so
Mm,
there's no real issue. And a lot of people in Cancun spoke English, so it was like easy to be in Cancun. But Colombia, Cartagena, my boy was like, "Yo, well, come on anyway." Right. And I was like, man, I don't think I'm going to have that much of a good time, because I know a good part of my game was my conversation. And I didn't know how I was going to, like, meet women or do anything like that if I didn't have good conversation and in their language. And so I remember going, well, I did end up making it to Colombia. Obviously, I'm here. And I'll chime in a little bit how that language thing comes in, because I'm addicted into that. But long story short, I fell in love with it. The language thing was a problem, but I figured out ways to overcome it in the initial part with Google Translate. People were really nice. I loved it. And that's when I had to do the next tip for
okay.
having an amazing life, right? Which was to research your destination, right?
Mm,
I If you want to get someplace, you got to know where you're going, right? You're charting out a map to go someplace in this world, or through corporate America, or through your university study. You want a You got to figure out what the destination is, right? Or at the very least, determine what are the qualifications or the characteristics of your destination, right? In my case, when I was looking at Belize, I had familiarity with it because that's where my grandparents are from, my mom's from. I spent time there, so I was familiar with it. But once I started to look at other places, I started looking at Mexico, and then I looked at Colombia because my boy was there, and Peru because I knew some people from Peru. And I started looking at things like the cost of living, the infrastructure. We just talked about that, right? The infrastructure here in Colombia is way better than in Belize, right? Belize is a country of only 400,000 people. Colombia's got millions of people here. So there's industry, there's, they produce oil, they produce food, they
Mm-hmm.
produce, there's so much for, they got ports on both sides. They got the West Coast, they've got the Caribbean coast. They don't even need to pay tolls, the extra fees for going through the Panama Canal on imports. Like, there's all these different things that I started finding out about Colombia that was like, oh, wow, this is like a nice little oasis here, right? Um, but of course, in doing those research, it's inevitable you start seeing stuff about why you shouldn't move there, right? Like, there was the stuff about narcos, and there's stuff about the paramilitaries, and there's stuff about uh, 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 guerrillas, right? And or whatever country you're looking at, you're going to find all the negative stuff too, right? And so
It,
you have to.
it's interesting how when I first decided to go to Colombia, and the reason why I decided to go to Colombia back in 2014, I went to Costa Rica for a bachelor party, right?
Right,
And I met this Colombian chick. I met an Afro Colombian,
right.
and she spoke a little English, and she was telling me like, yeah, I was like, I didn't, I never met a black Colombian before. So until I went to Costa Rica, and she was telling me like, yeah, go to Costa Rica, you'll like it. It's like and she was from Cali, of all places. I'm like, well, yeah, go there. And I'm like, yeah, that's it. Is it safe? He's like, yeah, it's safe. He's like, if you go there, they think you Colombian. And I'm like, okay. So,
Mhm.
a couple years later, man, I decided to book that ticket, man. I went by myself, and lucky for me, I had a good friend that tagged along with us, and that's it, man. But you'd be amazed. I was afraid too because the whole Colombian drug lords, the Pablo Escobar and everything else. But man, once I started doing more digging, I realized like, hey, okay, as long as I stay in all in the like rich areas or more middle class areas, I'll be okay. And from there, man, I was like, yo, when I got there, people were super nice, super friendly. I didn't worry about all the drugging and robbing that dudes were going through now.
Right.
And it was just interesting, man. So it kind of ties into like what you said, doing your research. I did a crap load of research before I got there, man. Like I did my research on Cali, Cartagena, Medellin, what areas to stay, what areas not to stay, the importance of the bank. I made sure I had Google Translate at the time.
Mhm.
So it's so essential to have research, to do your research. But nowadays, what I notice, Max, a lot of dudes are lazy. They just,
Mhm.
they just gonna show up.
Mhm.
Then they show up, then they send me a DM like, "Hey, tell me some places to go." I'm like,
Ah.
"Are you serious, man? Like, you didn't do your research." I was telling you didn't do your research before you got there, man. Like, you didn't look up places to go, where to stay, whatever. Nah, I just showed up.
Oh boy. Oh
Yeah.
boy.
So,
And much less they don't know where not to go either, right? Like, or what not
man,
to do or what not to say,
I
right?
have I have seen guys stay in Bello and Medellin. I have seen
Mm.
guys stay outside the wall in Cartagena, and not in Boca Grande, like in the hood. Like, dude, where you at? Oh, I'm like 45 minutes outside the wall.
Like, what are you
45
doing?
minutes out. And the thing again, they were being cheap. They saw a $25 room, oh, okay, I'm gonna get it. And I'm like, bro, what?
Stupid.
They were spending more money on taxi to come into the city than and this is before Uber. This is before Uber now. They were
Right.
coming more money, spending money on taxi, and them taxi saw, they saw gringos. So they took
Yeah.
advantage of them. But
Yes.
it's a lot of go ahead, man. I'm sorry, man.
You definitely need the research, right? And here's why. In addition to knowing stuff like that, right? You've got to put an answer to the why, right? The why would you do this, right? And I guess part of that why is also in that part of getting your mind ready, right? Accepting your realities and then understanding why you want to do this, right? You need to be researching the place to see if the place lines up with your why. So for my example, I talked about the reality, you know what, I'm probably not going to be able to retire the way I want to if I keep on the track that I was.
Mhm.
So part of my why is to have a kind of lifestyle that my older self will enjoy without having to be 70 years old before I retire, right? So that's part of my why. So when I start looking at places, I'm trying to answer the question, can I get to retirement comfortably? What kind of lifestyle can I have while leading up to it? Is this going to be a safe place for me? Is this going to be a place where I can invest in? Like understanding the place will help you figure out if it's the place for you and your purpose and your goal in doing this, right? So it's critical. And in researching the place, that goes with it should go without saying, but you've got to go there, right? You've got to go there, spend some time there to figure it out. As opposed to, I've talked to brothers too. They're like, "Hey, you're living in Colombia, man. Colombia is the place that I want to be. Have you ever been here?" No, but I'm coming in September. Okay, well, you need to come first before you start making plans that this is going to be your place. Oh, well, where can I buy a place? No, you need to come first, rent an Airbnb before you plan on buying anything, before you plan on investing, because you need to see if this works for you, right? You need now I'm glad that people are thinking about it, but you also got to put in the work to actually come and visit, spend some time. And matter of fact, go see some other places, right? So I came to Cartagena. I loved it. I've been to some other places, but even when I came to Cartagena, I said, I need to go check out some other places first. And I was like, I'm going to go to Peru. I went over to Lima. I went to Arequipa, went to Cusco. I went to Santiago, Chile. I went to Uruguay. I went to Buenos Aires. Like, I need to see what's more in this area. Like Panama City. I need to see what's out there
Stop
before
the
I.
presses. Stop, stop, stop. Slow down. Slow down. You called out some countries that I have not been yet. So I'm curious to know, how's Uruguay?
Uruguay, Montevideo is pretty cool.
Are they
They
black folks
have,
out there? Down
huh?
there? Are they
Are
black
they
folks
black?
down there?
Yes, undoubtedly, yes, right? Because they're right next to Brazil, right? And you
Yeah.
know they're not they're there, right? I would say that question might lead to say, are we welcome there? Maybe. And I'm going to say undoubtedly yes. I felt really
Okay.
great in Uruguay. Argentina, however, I got there and I had 2 days. On my second day, I was like, I'm done with this place. I am
You
gone.
serious?
I'm
Argentina?
serious. I'd never been so I was prepared to stay more time, and I was like, I'm not giving these people not another cent of my money. The way that I
Wow.
was being treated, I jumped on a ferry and I went over to Uruguay. Like I'm gonna
You
spend the
know
rest
what?
of.
You're not the only person. I follow a few YouTubers, and they've been to Argentina, except for Ace Live. He speaks very highly of it. But the other black YouTubers that have been to Argentina did not speak not positive about it. They really talked about the racial issue, the lack of respect.
Mm-hmm.
That yeah, it's just a lot of red flags of what I'm noticing. Now that you're saying that I think that's something I may not consider next time.
I was in Buenos Aires, and the treatment, and I was like in a tourist area where this is an international city. The way I was treated, and at the time she was my fiance, the way we were both treated, it was like I can't believe this. And I was like, nah. On the second day, that's it. I'm gone. We go.
How
We
so?
take.
Let's find out more about that. Like how bad were you treated? Like, was it
Sure,
more
sure,
the
sure.
racial because you're a black
Yes.
man or you're a
Yeah. Yes.
foreigner?
Yes. That was the only thing to me, and not to me. It was because we were browner, right?
Mm.
My wife is like kind of mestizos,
Mm-hmm.
but she's not like white Latina, right?
I understand. I know
Right.
exactly what the type you're talking about.
And so we went to the hotel, and the way they were treating her at the hotel, it was sort of weird. And she said something about it. And I was like, you know what? Maybe it was just us. Like, maybe it was just you. It was in your head. Because every place else we had been, we never had that kind of experience. But what did it for me was like, I think the second night we went to go looking for a place to eat. And the time zone is different than say what I was used to in say Colombia, because like in Colombia, it's right now it's 8 p.m. For Eastern time, it's 9 p.m., right?
Mhm.
And I think it's like 2 hours later there. I think so. If it was 5 p.m., it's actually 7 p.m. there, something like that. Whatever it was, when I finished doing my work, we only had a little bit of time to go out to go eat, like go find a restaurant, like a walk around a bit. So we literally
Yeah.
had to go find something to eat pretty quickly. And we found this Italian place. There was somebody standing outside trying to get customers in, like, hey, look at our menu. And so, okay, we went inside. And the service that we got was so horrible. Having to beg the people to give us the menu, having to
Wow.
beg the people to come get where's our drinks. And at the end of the service, we want to pay. And in Argentina, the way their banking system works, people don't have much trust in the banking system. So if you go to pay for a meal, and let's say your hamburger is $20. I'm just using dollars for example, right? But if that's the price. It's $20 is on the menu. But if you're
Mhm.
going to pay in cash, they're
It's
going to
more.
take off. They're going to take off 10, 15, or 20%. So just because you're paying in cash, so so now you get the check and it's $20 for the hamburger, or it's $16 if you paid in cash. So we didn't have a whole lot of pesos, but darn it, 20% discount, I'm gonna pay you in cash, right?
Yeah.
So we go to count up all the cash, but at first I thought I didn't have enough money because I didn't exchange a lot of pesos. I was going to pay with my credit card, and they said they accepted cards. But when I saw that there's a 20% discount, let's get all our money together. We're going to pay for this with cash. So we counted it all up, and I put it inside the billfold for the guy. We could just get up and walk away, but I don't want him to walk. I don't want to walk away and then some, this service was so bad. I want him to come and get the thing personally in his hand. So there's no thought that we walking out without paying, right?
Mhm.
So we're trying to get the guy to come. And he's like, I'm waving my hand like in the air, like, hey, look, come get the money. Eventually I start standing up, like, all right, let's put on our jackets. They should figure it
Yeah.
out, right? So we start putting on our jackets. So now the guy comes running across the restaurant, and he grabs the thing from my hand, and he starts to count it in front of me to make sure, like, I guess it's the right amount. And then he walks away. He doesn't say thank you. He doesn't say anything. And I'm like,
Wow.
oh my God, this guy, we couldn't get his service for nothing, but he comes running across the table like we're about to walk out without paying. I was like, I never had any kind of service like this. And I can't even, this conversation is even doing it justice because I left out a lot of details just for the sake of time, but it was horrible. And it was many other places. I went across to Uruguay, and the people were so different.
Wow.
And Uruguay was so nice. The people in Montevideo, it was a total different. I thought maybe because they were close in like culture, they would be similar, but they were actually very nice. I had a great time in Uruguay. I would go back definitely. They have one of the highest standards of living in South America. So I felt like I was like in some town in California or something like that, or something in the Pacific Northwest. Like it was really chill. People had restaurants and malls, and it's just a little expensive, but even that, it was a nice place to go.
I mean, expensive is so subjective because expensive is Atlanta, Miami. When I'm overseas, unless you're going to Dubai or certain countries in Europe, it could be expensive. But like Latin America, when people tell me it's expensive, I'm like, well, compared
Mhm.
to where I live, it's still cheap, And it's just like, but hey, thanks for sharing that Argentina because I know the history, the true history, what they did to the black folks there. They literally exterminated all the black folks.
Yeah, yeah,
A
yeah.
lot of people don't want to talk about that, and then Argentina never want to acknowledge what they did to all the Afro-Argentinian folks. They literally wiped them out through war. They put them in the front line, and they made sure that they bred out all the blackness out of the women by
Mhm.
by encouraging them to mix with other races. And keep in mind, Argentina was one of the safe havens for the Nazis.
Right, right.
Keep that in mind. So, but go ahead,
Yeah.
you continue. I'm sorry.
No, that's
This
all
is really
right.
good. This is really good, man.
So, researching your destination, understanding your why. Now, these are five tips, and there's some of them are in order, right? But some of them are going to be things that you need to consider constantly reevaluate and do. I mean, your research, yeah. Once you've picked your place, you still need to keep researching and knowing more about that place. Getting your mind ready is something you need to do to get going. But again, you still need to be flexible and adjustable to make sure that your mind is capable of handling that new lifestyle. So even after you're in your lifestyle, you need to keep your mind ready. The next one is get your money ready.
Mm.
This
I don't
one
need.
was
I
hard.
mean, I could take $500 and I'd be all right, right?
For maybe a few weeks, maybe depending on what country you choose and what part of town you stay in, that you might get a whole month out of that. But you might get 2 months out of it, depending on what country. To be quite honest, um, but you got to have some way of supporting yourself. You got to figure that out. You got to get that one worked out. Plan out how would you live and what sources of income, what sources of income you're going to be depending on in this new world. Now, that could be you're retiring and you got a pension. Okay, cool. That means you got dollars coming in. But even with that, I would say plan for a plan B, because what happens if your pension um, is tied up in the stock market and the market collapses and now you're not getting what you thought you was going to get?
Right
What
now,
happens?
how things are happening now with the markets, fellas, don't solely rely on your pension.
Right.
Just FYI, just be mindful. Things are changing and things are coming to the pipeline. Don't solely rely on that as a retirement.
Social Security, it's there. Will it always be there? If you're in your 30s, 40s, is it going to be there when you're ready? Like, get your money ready. Think about how you are going to live in this lifestyle. But the cool thing about getting your money ready is you don't need as much as you thought you needed in the States. That's the awesome part. I got a cousin right now. He's got a pension from New York City Police Department. He's working on a second pension.
Wow.
I told him, I said, yo, you making enough money on the first pension. Like, you would live really good down here on the first pension. Yeah, but I got this thing and I want to do this and I'm going to do another 10 more years.
And those 10 years he may not even see. And this is what happens to a lot of brothers when they push themselves to the edge and to the point where they don't even enjoy their retirement. This is a very common behavior.
My cousin, he's in his early 50s, and he's talking about he's one of those brothers. No, he's been married but no kids, and he likes the idea of moving to someplace like this, and and starting a family. But then on the other side of his mouth, he's talking about, well, I'm working with the state now, and if I do another 10 more years, I'm gonna get this other pension. Dude, you making enough money right now that you can live good right now. You don't need as much money as you think you need.
But is
Take
it
the
for
money.
him though, Max? It is him relocating overseas? Is that a good fit for him? Because he may feel like, you know what, he may go there and realize like this is not for me.
So the cool thing, well, this is like I said, this is my cousin. So
Yeah.
we got shared grandparents, and he spent time in Belize too, right? So and he's got some inheritance over there too. So he goes back and forth, and so his mindset is he's been sort of groomed to that international lifestyle. I bet he's traveled, but he hadn't he hadn't come to Colombia until recently, and he came here. He was like, "Yo, cuz I know why you live here now. Oh my God, I'm coming back." Right? But I think he is a. I think he could go with the lifestyle, but
Okay.
his mind is not ready. His mind's not really ready because his mind is in the mindset of I got to do this, I got to do that before I can get this. He doesn't believe that he can do it. I know he can because he's doing parts of it, but he doesn't believe he can do it. So get your money right. For me, one of the things that was the hardest was like, thinking about what happens if I got to go back to the States and I need to be in person for something related to my work, right? What am I going to do? Right, that affects my money. What
Mm-hmm.
happens if something goes wrong with my rental properties and I need to personally be there? Right, these are things that's in my mind. It's like, okay, then all of that was answered with, you know what? I'm just going to have to buy a ticket. That's it. I'm going to just have to buy a ticket and plan around it. I,
Mm-hmm.
I could go back. I could go back. I got to make this money. So, all right, I'll do. Yeah, okay. During the pandemic, that was maybe a little bit harder to do because, flying wasn't that easy and I didn't want to go anywhere and not be able to come back. But in general, if there's a problem, I need to go back to handle money stuff, just go back. But a lot of people come and have, oh, well, no, a lot of people want to come, but don't have the means to work remote. Now, that's when it's really hard because if you can't work remote and you don't have a, I guess, real estate, a trust fund, a pension, or Social Security, then it's a task that you have to sort of figure out how are you going to be able to get some kind of funds that you can live off of while you're here. Because the last thing you want to do, in my opinion, in most places, is try to get a job here.
Oh,
You ain't making no money here. You're not working locally.
I've known guys who actually, again, this Dominican Republic. I know guys working at call centers in DR. American dudes, man. I'm like, you working at a call center just to just to live this
in the
so-called
DR.
expat life? Yeah, I'm like,
In the
you serious?
DR for DR. See now I know a friend, same kind of thing. He works with call centers, but in the US, right? He's here using VPNs, and even with him working in the call centers, he's able to live here and have a very comfortable lifestyle, save money, and take on more work being here than if he was working in a call center in the States. His cost of living would be so much higher. So I would say, even being in a call center, you can do it. I've heard of
No, no, no,
people.
no, no. I'm speaking. These guys they work at a call center in Dominican Republic for Dominican companies.
Right.
So they're getting paid pesos.
No, I understood that. I'm saying you could do it. You just have to do it for an American company, and then you can have a much better lifestyle, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's not the type of the job; it's the source of the funds, right? You
But
can work in a call center.
I'm gonna keep
Um,
it one. I'm gonna keep it 100 though, and I've seen this, during my years. A lot of guys they want the remote life, the work, the work remote work life. They don't have the discipline for it.
Mm.
because a lot of guys always tell me, they always reach out to me, hey, listen, I want to work remotely, this and that. And I'm like, well, are you disciplined? Or you understand, like, yo, work comes first before partying?
Right.
Do you understand that you can't have a girl chilling in your room while you're working, type of thing? Like for me,
Well, you
I,
can, but
yeah, well, I mean, well, for me at my level, like, I do a lot of presentations, I run teams. I don't want no distraction. So when I'm working remotely, dude, everybody get the fuck out.
yeah, she's just in the next
Uh,
room.
no, no, no. Now sometimes it's like, listen, if you're gonna be in the crib, I need quiet because
Yeah.
I don't want to give any intentions like, hey, listen, I'm fucking up.
Right.
Especially I'm not trying to ruin my money.
Right.
Like
Right.
where I'm getting contracts making 120 an hour, the lowest $85 an hour.
Right.
And it's just like, you know what? Hey, if now if she's my main girl, whatever, she understand how I work. So, and plus she probably has a job anyways.
Right.
So she's working at 9 to 5 in her country. But
Right.
if someone's just chilling, like, just, playing with, hey, listen, you got to go
Right.
because I don't
Right.
need no distraction. I'm not like, when it comes to my money, I need to make my money. And it's just like, I don't want to be on a video call and you walk by, or you want to play your music or whatever. It's just like, no, I don't need none of that. From this time, I need quiet because I need no distraction. Because if I got certain deliverables, deadlines that needs to be met, I don't want to ruin that.
Nah.
But I think a lot of guys, what they do when they work remotely, and I've seen guys lose their jobs, like well-paying jobs, because they were sloppy.
Right.
It's like, dude, you can't have 3, 4 girls at the crib. Like, and again, you didn't get a villa. You got a one room, a hotel
Mm-hmm.
room. You got girls sitting on the next bed making all that noise while you're working.
Nah, that ain't gonna cut it. Nah,
But
you
I I've seen that. I've seen
that
that. And
yeah, that is getting your money right, getting your money ready. You gotta keep that on point all the time, right? Um,
mm-hmm,
if you because okay, that's part of the privilege of being here. If you bring in dollars to a place that is, even if it's a place like Panama or Ecuador where they use dollars too, but the U.S. dollar gets you more stuff. You're in a special place that it's like you get the best of both. You get high, okay, even if you have moderate income in dollars, but you bring it to these countries where that moderate income is now 10 times the average person's salaries. Oh my God, like that's such a privilege, right? You
Max.
gotta get it right.
I know a few guys. Rest in peace to James, who passed away in Brazil, and some other friends that work overseas. Dude, they make 180 while
Yeah.
living in Colombia. 180K in Colombia, dude. They got penthouses out there, bro.
Let me
Dude,
listen.
when I tell dudes this, man, and again, I don't mean to clap my hand, but I gotta tell guys this, man, dude. There's levels to this, man. Max by himself is another level. There are guys
Listen,
out here that's living in these countries making 180, 200K US dollars, living in Costa Rica, living in Panama, living in DR, living in Colombia. I know these people,
well,
and they living their best life remotely, man, making US dollars, man. Now in the States, you making 200K or 150 or just
it's all right.
120. That's good.
That's good. Yeah.
But imagine you in Cartagena making that money.
What do you mean? Imagine? I know.
Oh,
Listen.
hey, like,
I know. I know.
man.
So get your money right. Right. Okay. Let me get your money right. Right. Get your money right. Okay. I'm gonna put the people down on a tip. Here. I'm gonna put this right here. This right here is sort of like this the cheat code right here. Right. Little cheat code. I'm gonna give you a little insight on what I do here. Right. Look, I got a contract job on the West Coast. I got a contract job on the East Coast. I'm getting two full-time
wow.
salaries, right? I hire people locally to do the work of the contracts. I've got a bilingual assistant to help me with the communications between these two places. I'm the face man for the meetings. I also have my own clients in addition to those two jobs.
Wow.
So I pull in, I don't even, I'm afraid to say how much money I make on this. Like,
No.
I'm pulling in stupid money. I'm pulling in stupid money. Like, every, like, when I calculate how much, like, just put it like this. I got, I've got 7 employees.
Wow.
I've got 7 employees. I've got my own office space, um, light, gas. I pay my employees, the health care, unemployment insurance, pension, vacations. I mean, I got accountants. I got an accountant. I've got a lawyer. My lawyer actually pays me rent because she rents out one of the offices in my office space. So my lawyer is just on hand 24 hours, 24/7. If I need to call her, my lawyer is there. All right. I've got, I'm not even gonna count what my home lifestyle, just my office lifestyle. I pay for my entire office expenses with just 3 days of billable work for the month. My entire month of expenses is paid in just 3 days. I'm killing it here. I
You
am.
know what? I too have a West Coast contract, and I had an East Coast contract, but I had to let go of the East Coast contract because they wanted me to play more of a leadership role, and it was conflicting with my West Coast contract. So right now, I quit that job. I decided to, you know what, I'm gonna try to find another East Coast contract, but
Mhm.
I don't want no leadership role. I just want give me a task oriented
Uh-huh.
thing.
That's exactly what I'm
That's
at.
all I want. I don't want to lead no I don't want to lead no team. I don't want to train anybody.
Right.
I don't want to facilitate anything. Give me like a task role, like a project assignment, and I
Mhm.
do, and I give it to the leader, and he or she can present it.
Yeah.
And that's my goal this summer. My goal this summer is to find the East Coast contract and have 2 full-time contracts, the West Coast and the East Coast, similar to what you're doing. And thanks for sharing this because man, you can make a lot of money doing this. And trust me, I have a general idea how much you make just by you saying those 2 contracts. I'm like, and you live in the Cartagena, dude. You living like a
And
king
I got,
over there, man.
listen, Liz. Oh my God, it's crazy. Then okay, so I got more bandwidth because I literally, like, I can pay developers what it costs me to pay a developer for the month is less than what I'm going to make in a day. So I can throw more bodies at problems, right? And make more money, which is I'm about to pick up a third contract. Like, I'm feeling out the right kind because
Damn.
I have the people, I'm training the people for the type of work that I'm doing. I'm getting people who are, out of university, or I'm plucking them from other companies and I'm taking them and bringing them over here that have experience, that have know-how, and have passion for being able to do what they love doing, which is technology. This is a hack. Now, everybody can't do this because it depends on your industry. But if this is, I imagine that I've got a small window in time before companies can pick up on this, right? I
Oh
don't
yeah.
know.
Oh, trust me. You know what? Here's a great thing, Max. There are several YouTubers right now bragging about having 2 contracts, and I'm like, what the f you guys are
Stop,
doing?
stop
Why are you
telling me
making
this.
videos of this? Because now companies are catching on, and the thing is, it's like there's certain things don't need to be shared in social media. You having 2 unique contracts and you talking about and you teaching people how to do it, companies are watching you, man. So I'm trying to do the same thing this summer. Like now that like my son just yesterday was shipped to Chicago. So
Right,
now I got like as soon as I get back from El Salvador next Monday, dude, I'm back on interview mode. I
right.
already updated the resume. I updated my my portfolio. I'm trying to get me an East Coast contract because my West Coast contract, I don't really start working until like 11 o'clock.
Yeah, exactly,
so
exactly.
so
I,
I'm trying to find me an East Coast contract, and once I get that East Coast contract, I'm working a East Coast and a West Coast full time contract, and you know those contracts in our field how much
right.
we make.
Right, exactly. So now take that to the where, all right, I've got employees now that I don't have to be doing, like my days are like 12-hour days, right? Because I'm here with my team, but my team is doing the majority of the work and delivering it to me, and I'm delivering it to the stakeholders
Yeah.
after validating it. So it's like I don't really have to work hard. Now I know what I'm doing and I know what I need to get done, but I don't have to work 12-hour days constantly with my mind into the task. I assign the task, delegate the work, follow up on the work, deliver the work. So getting your money ready, getting your money right is that's step number three, right? Uh,
Now, and
um,
just in case, if you can, because I know some people joined kind of late. What was tip one, tip two,
Oh
and
yeah,
tip three
yeah,
again?
yeah, yeah. Tip one was get your mind ready, right? You've got to accept the reality of where you are in this in life, what you want out of it. You've got to get your mind ready. If you want to live an expat lifestyle, you've got to be able to roll with the punches. You need to be adaptable. You need to be resourceful. You need to be able to open up your mind to even allow yourself to live this way. Right? You need to step two is research your destination. Right? You need to at least know the criteria or the characteristics of the place you want to eventually end up in, right? And then start to go to those places and visit them and make some connections, right? And step three we just talked about is get your money ready, get your money right. Right? You need a way to actually support yourself, plan out how you're going to live and on what income sources you're going to have when you get there, and that will sustain you for the rest of your expat lifestyle. So moving on to the fourth step. One, two, three. Okay. Again, these aren't specifically in any order, but um, you got to learn the culture, right? Let's say now you've got your money ready and you've actually in the place, you're going there, you're spending time there. I started by going back and forth every month. I started by going every 2 weeks. I was on a plane. I'd spend 2 weeks in here. I'd go back, and 2 weeks I'm going someplace else. And every 2 weeks I was traveling. You could in Colombia. Once I picked Colombia, right? That yeah, I'm gonna spend my time in Colombia. You could come for 6 months or 180 days in a year without having to need any kind of special visa. And every time you come back, they reset the 90-day visa that you get on your travel. So
Mm.
if I come in for 2 weeks and leave for 2 weeks, I could do that for a whole year and not need any special visa. So in that process, I needed to learn the culture. I needed to learn the language. Right? My Spanish sucked. It was horrible. I had high school Spanish, but I never used it. And so one of the things I said to myself was, if I'm really going to live in this country, live this is totally outside of my comfort. I'm gonna go totally outside of my comfort zone. I'm going to live like a local. I'm not gonna go live in Boca Grande or Manga, which is the higher rent districts of Cartagena. That's easy. If I land there, I would, land soft, right? And may not have the full benefit of knowing what it's like to live here. That's a sheltered type of living. So when I came, um, me and my wife was starting our relationship, and we was just we wasn't married yet. We were just boyfriend and girlfriend. And I said, you know what, let's rent an apartment together. And I know how much I could pay, but I didn't want her to know how much I could pay. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to surprise her and just like all of a sudden like move up her lifestyle either, right? So
Yeah.
I was like, let's move to some place comfortable that you think would be good for me, and we'll split the rent. That's what I told her, right? We'll split the rent, and she was like, okay, we'll split the rent. And she found a place in a middle class gated community in the middle of the city. And like, I don't know if you know where Cuatro Vientos is,
Yeah,
but
I know what that is.
yeah, it was like that ain't nothing special. There ain't no tourists. I was the only gringo in that neighborhood for sure, right? And probably was, and probably still historically was the only gringo living in that community, right? There'll never be another one for another 15 years. But in any case, but I did that because I wanted to, like, if I could travel on a bus, if I could take taxis and collectivos and walk around the corner and meet the neighbors and see and live like that, I'm going to have the culture rammed in my face 24/7. Um, and doing that, I got to meet a lot of cool people. I got people who wanted to teach me the culture. I had a friend of mine, Julio. Um, every morning when I was in the country, they would invite me to have coffee, and they didn't speak a word of English, but they would bring stuff out and show it to me and tell me what the word is in Spanish. Their daughters were learning English, and so they got a chance to practice English with me, and they were teaching me words and dichos and like customs and all these different things.
Mhm.
Like every morning, this was my experience. So when my wife would go out to work, I would be over there with them talking and have my coffee before I started my day. It's like you got to figure out how to interact with the people in this world that you're going to be living in, and you can't. I don't recommend just trying to live like an expat with a bunch of other expats, because you miss out on a lot of the culture. And in understanding the culture gives you freedom to navigate this new world a little bit easier, I think.
I totally agree with that. I think for me, what I get out of my travels is, I mean, granted, yeah, I know a lot of expat that live in these countries, but I prefer to be on my own and learn. Like if I'm around a lot of Hispanics, I'm forced to speak it. So like my first day is always happened. My first day, my Spanish is kind of off. By the second, third day, dude, I'm fluid. And it's just like, and I noticed that whenever I'm around a lot of expats and we speak in English, I get very comfortable where it's like, okay, I'm not talking Spanish anymore. But when I'm out in an area where it's like I have no choice but to use Spanish, that's when my Spanish start kicking in a lot more fluently, and I get more of a better conversation. But I agree with you. I think the more you ingrain yourself and you immerse yourself in that culture and that way of life, the more quicker you tend to actually um, get ingrained into the community, and the community will accept you back in return because they see that you're trying.
Definitely, Latinos, at least in Latin America. I don't want to speak for Latinos in the United States so much, but my experience here has been I could be butchering the language, and they will smile and go, oh, like they'll try to figure out, and they'll try, and as so welcoming, and just like, okay, no, that's not the word, but I think you mean this, right? And so forgiving, right? So I and learning the culture, every place I've been where I'm even trying to use their little slang words, and I say it and they're like, oh, they'll laugh like, oh my God, you know that? Like, oh, okay. Like, like here in Cartagena, the people from the coast are called costeños.
Costeños,
Um,
yeah.
and they speak so different than, say, people from Medellin.
I
Um,
mean, people in Bogota speak different. I noticed that.
exactly. Exactly.
Honestly, I think they speak more proper Spanish.
And on the exact opposite is costeños, right? So I'm learning Spanish from costeños. It's like now if there's anybody who's from Louisiana, I'm just using this as a reference. But if you try to learn English and I drop you off in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, the what you're learning on Duolingo is going to be a little bit different than the language you hear on in them bayous. You know what I mean? And that's not a bad
I mean,
accent.
shit. You know what? Go to New York, man. You were like, what?
so,
Boston.
so,
Like, what the hell you just said? It's like,
so the Spanish I'm learning here, they use words. They cut off their words. They speak really quickly, and they use some words that don't make any sense in Google Translate. So but like for example, if you've got a problem, right? You got a problem that you're trying to solve, and you're costeño, you might say, "Oh, tengo un chicharrón." Right? Now, chicharrones is like fried pork,
yeah, I was
right?
gonna say that's fried pork,
That's
man.
fried pork.
Chicharrones, yeah.
That's what it. That's the literal translation. It's a piece of fried pork. So, but they use that as like that represents a problem. Now, I don't know how you get problem from chicharrone, but So the first time I heard someone saying something like that, it was so out of context. Like you have a small piece of pork, and that's why you're late. Like I don't understand. Like why? Tengo un chicharrone con mi hijo. You had a small piece of pork
With your son.
with your
You had a small
son?
piece of pork with your son.
Oh, later when someone explained it to me, it's like, okay. So it's like I'm learning all of this crazy stuff, but that's cool because now I feel like I fit in with the cult. No, I don't fit in because I'm so far from fitting in. I'm never gonna fit in, right? But I at least can follow along when I see certain things. And every now and then I use it to my advantage. Like if you're in Cartagena and you go to, I don't know, there's Pan de Bono is a place in El Centro where you can get fruit drinks and different types of pan. You go there, you ask for your fruit drink, they'll give it to you. There might still be a little bit more in the mixer, and you can drink a few, and you say, "Por favor, dame la ñapa, por favor." Now, if you ask Google Translate, I don't think Google Translate knows what la ñapa is, right? But la ñapa is this costeño thing that really means, hey, give me a little extra, right? Give me a little extra. And costeños always ask for a little extra. So when I, as a gringo, say, give me a little extra, they look at me like it's cute, like, oh my God, you know what that is? And they give me a little extra, right? For free. So it works. Oh, wow, you're using the culture. You like, oh, okay, I'm gonna give you a little. And they always give me the La Napa, even though I can pay for my own drink. I can pay for another one, but they'll give me, oh yeah, go ahead, they'll give you some
So
more.
you pronounce it as La Ñapa?
La Ñapa. I'm
La
probably
Ñampa. La Ñampa.
like so think of Napa Auto
Yeah.
Parts, like Napa, but Ñapa is like the Enya in it. I
Okay.
pronounce it wrong. I know I'm pronouncing it wrong. I'm butchering it, but they get it. They get it. So learn the culture. Oh my God, you'll get so much further, and not only will you get so much further with the people, I think for me personally, I've been encouraged to go further. I okay, so as an African American man, and a black man, forget the American part, just being black,
Yeah.
right? I feel like I can go places that my non-black expats should never go by themselves.
Hmm.
I mean, I've been in places here in Colombia and other parts of South America that's like, oh wow. I don't know if I would go here if I was blonde hair, blue eye. I don't know if I would be welcomed, or I don't want to say safety, but certainly I know that I have a sense of anonymity, being of I look like an Afro-Colombian in many cases, so they don't think that I'm out of place. I felt the same way in Cuba, where people actually mistake me for being from Havana. Oh wow, cool! Like,
Oh,
like I think I play that to my advantage. My advantage, and if you know a little bit of the culture, that might buy you a few minutes of anonymity when talking. If you say minimum words with good enough accent. So again, learning the culture, I think, gets you far and might expose you to going further. So the last tip for having an amazing expat life. Um, I would say that you need to get your relationships in order.
hmm.
Right? You need to get your relationships in order, right? Um, you need relationships with the people back at home who's helping you with whatever obligations you got back at home. You need to maintain a very good relationship with those people. That might mean that you might have, in my case, I've got a guy who does all of the work on my rental properties. This guy's been working on my houses for the last 12 years. I need to maintain that relationship because in the middle of the night, if my tenant calls and say I got a problem now, I'm not jumping on a plane to go unclog a toilet, right? But I know who will go over there. I'm gonna call him up, right? And if I got a problem with the air conditioner, I got another brother who, okay, I know I'm gonna call Judah. Judah's gonna go over there and fix the air conditioner. Right? I got my, I know who's on my dream team over there to help maintain that stuff for me, right? But also, there's some people in our lives that can't see this expat lifestyle. They can't see what we see. Matter of fact, they might be a little bit negative. They may they may be a little bit discouraging. They may be the kind of people that would want to influence you away from this because, oh, you're just gonna go over there, or you're just going over there because, and whatever it is, that they're not the people who are going to help propel you towards your goal or your dream. They're going to be the people who want to tear you down, take away from it, distract you from it. And if you've got negative people in your life, you know what? That might keep you from being focused on what you need to do. So your relationships being in order includes the people back at home. It also includes the people where you're going, right? Um, I just talked about culture, understanding and learning the culture. A good way to do that is by interacting with people, building relationships with these people. These people are going to be the ones you call when you need something. Hey, I was thinking about going to Medellin, but I want to drive there. Just so I can see the scenery. Would you ride with me? Oh man, let's go! Right? Or I'm trying to find a mechanic for a car, and I don't know who to trust. Can you know someone? I'm trying to find a photographer for an event. Like, these people who you're going to build these relationships with are going to be the first sources of getting stuff done. So you need to be able to have the ability to interact with people and start building meaningful relationships with people who will help you on your journey, right? While letting go of the people who are going to distract you from your journey.
Yes.
Um, Now, in the relationship category, it is also. I came down as a single man. I know a lot of single men who are interested in expat lifestyle as single men. I even know a couple of guys who are married men who want to be single men. who want to come down and or not just come down, but it's like I'm in Latin America, but this applies, I think, whether it's in Africa or in Asia or in maybe Europe, like what to, wherever you want to go. But the thing is, you as a couple, it's a little harder to get on the same, my experience from talking with people, it's a little harder to get on the same page, to want to do all the things that I just talked about, getting your minds ready, right? Getting your doing your research together and agreeing with the findings, getting your money ready and working together towards your financial goal, right? And so if your relationships is in the state where she doesn't want to go and you do, I don't know what you do there, right? I don't know what you do there, right? I'm just saying it's hard. I'm gonna be quite honest. With my ex-wife, I was always picturing that I was gonna be in Belize. Like, you know what? The cost of living is low. I got family down there. The quality of life is high. It's a slower pace, but you know what? We could at least live there during the winter months in the States and live in the States in the summer months, right? Like, but you know what? She couldn't really even accept that, right? She just like, oh, we're gonna live in a small hut and it's not gonna be the same. We're gonna have a lower quality of life, and we're not gonna really say that. Like, her mindset was not open to it, but mine
Yeah.
was like, well, how am I going to retire at 72 at the rate that we're going, right? We're not going to be at the place that I want us to be in. So I need another way. And we couldn't get on the same board, the same page. So getting your relationships in order also should include figuring out who's going to make the journey with you, right? Or maybe who will you find when you get there to go on a journey with you?
It's
Um,
funny. I'm actually seeing someone. I've been seeing her for 7 years now, and we talked about, you know, doing the whole expat life, and she made it clear, like, I'm open to going back to DR, or you want to go to another country, let's do that, because she understand, like, she's not trying to work for the rest of her life here in the States.
Great.
And it's just like, and I'm kind of glad that, if we do decide to, make it official, like, we're on the same page.
Right.
It's like, hey, this is not the end goal for us to stay here and retire here in the States. Like, once my two older kids are out the door and they're good to go, hey, what, you want to go to Colombia? You want to go to, another country to retire? We just go there, make a living, because I'm not trying to retire here where it's getting expensive. It's getting grossly out expensive here.
Imagine 10 years from now.
Yeah. Yeah. So is it, like you said, going back to the relationship part, it's important that if you are in a relationship or you are having plans to be with someone, make sure that they're on the same goal as you are. Because the last thing you want is, like, you want to go left, but she wants to go right.
Exactly, exactly. I was dating a girl before. This is before I was even thinking about Colombia, but I knew that I wanted to be overseas, right? And we were talking, and I was talking about Belize, and she was talking about Morocco, I think, right? Um, and I was like, "Why Morocco?" And she gave me all these different reasons, and I just was like, "Well, Morocco looks like a beautiful place to visit, but it didn't line up with my like what characteristics I was looking for in my destination, right?
Mhm.
Um, and where I was looking didn't line up with hers. So we still wasn't thinking about the same kind of places, right? Um, and I remember dating another woman when I talked about Belize, and she was like, "Oh yes, I'm down. Wherever you want to take me, I'm down." Right. So it's still get your relationships in order, because some people are not going to be able to do this. Like there was a lady I was we dated a couple of times in Atlanta. Professional. She was a chair at a university. She's got a high profile job. Like, she ain't going nowhere.
Yeah,
Know,
she
like
ain't going nowhere.
she ain't going nowhere. That's like this. This is if I'm going to be in a relationship with her, I've got to my goal is not going to be met with her because she's too entrenched into her career. I understand. I can't fault her with it, but I got to realize that this ain't the relationship for me for the direction that I want to take my life. Um, that is keep keep in mind who you want to take the journey with, right? Now, some brothers come down here and find their partner. Okay. Um, um, you've got to filter through, you've got to filter through what's good and what's not good for you, right? Okay. So brothers, whether it's Latin America, Africa,
Asia,
Asia,
Europe.
Europe, if you are stable economically, productive, um, you don't even got to be like you don't even got to be really that attractive, right? You could be a 6 on the scale, right? It is probably so easy to build a relationship and find love. I am convinced of it. Even though I've never been to some of the places, I haven't been to Asia. I haven't. Just the general idea that a man who's productive and relatively attractive, who has more resources than the average guy in those countries that you're visiting, that alone will give you opportunities that you would not believe. I'm convinced of that. What I've heard from people who have been, and what I know from personal experience, the options are so incredibly in our favor, right? Okay, but you've got to be smart about it. You can't come down here. There was a story here in Colombia not too long ago of a guy from Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's Tim something.
yeah, right, with the barbecue place, and
Yeah.
he was. There's some drama related to. There's some unanswered questions as to his passing, right? And one suspect person was the woman that he was supposedly going to marry. And he bought a piece of property that was like around 200 something thousand. Um, and lost his life because some people supposedly liked him and wanted to build a life with him. And not every woman who says she loves
Yeah.
you, right? She might love what you can do for her, but you've got to be able to vet your relationships. Shoot, that doesn't just apply to here in Latin America, because you could be married for 20 something years and the person who says she loves you one day changes her mind.
Yeah.
And so you really have to have a good handle on who's who you're counting on, who you're bringing on the journey with you. And with all of that, I think those are the 5 tips to having an amazing life. I haven't even touched on just like my lifestyle here, right? Those are in those 5 tips, right? That led me to being able to find Colombia, find Cartagena, picking Cartagena from a list of many other nice cities, but I like Cartagena for it's got an international airport. It's got beaches. It's got the old city. If I want to fly to San Andres, where it's got beautiful beaches, it's like only like anywhere between $80 and $100 for 2 people to go round trip over there from Cartagena. I could fly into Fort Lauderdale real easy. I can Drive up the coast to Barranquilla if I want to get anything that's not found in this city. It's like an hour away. I can take flights to I could take flights to Medellin and Bogota for $40 round trip, $50 round trip.
Mm-hmm.
It's central to so many things. It's also a city that everybody wants to come to. Not everybody, a lot of people want to come to. Other Latinos from other parts of Latin America want to come to Cartagena. So there's always something to do here. It's just great. And cost of living, this is one of the more expensive cities. And you talked about how that was relative, and you're right. It is one of the more expensive if you're a Latino. But coming from Atlanta, my first year that I was here, my entire monthly budget, including my airfare back and forth once a month, like every 2 weeks, but it was like once a month I'd buy a round trip ticket spanning 2 weeks. Was $1,200 a month was my living expenses, including my airfare. I was spending that on dates in Atlanta. And here I'm spending it to have an apartment. I had a cleaning lady. I had light bill, water bill, gas bill, going out to eat like several times a week, and my airfare for $1,200 a month. Now my living expenses now for my household is somewhere in the area of about 1,900 let's just say $2,000, right, a month. But you might be like, yo, Max, that's a lot of money. Yeah, but check it out. I've got a penthouse apartment with a split level plan, 4 bedrooms, 2 balconies, 2 living areas, maid's quarters. I have 24-hour security, pool, gym, all that stuff in the building. I have a housekeeper who works at my place 5 to 6 days a week. We alternate. So like 1 week is 5 days and next week is 6 days. All of my food for 4 people, including the housekeeper. Going out every weekend. Cell phones. All of that's like $2,000 a month. In Atlanta, I'm renting houses for almost $2,000 in the hood. Here, I'm walking distance to El Centro. It's so incredibly cheap to live over here. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculously cheap. And so that was one of the reasons why, again, when I started started doing the research on the place, it was like, wait a second. I could live at a fraction of the cost of what it would take to be in the States. Why do I need to wait till I'm retired in order to start living better? And so I need to make a plan today.
Yeah. And especially when you don't have any kids, you don't have any major responsibility, like what's preventing you from living overseas? I mean, guys, if you have the skill set or you could pick up a new skill set where you can work remotely, why not? I mean, what's stopping you?
Exactly. It is okay. I set in my life, I wanted to be around people who were happy. I realized that some of the best moments in my life is when I was sharing happiness with other people. And when I came here, that was one of the first things I saw in people that, at least in the coast, right? People don't need too much to have a good time. People don't need too much to enjoy their life. And I realized that I'm back in the States. in my commute, in my traffic, and people don't want to really go out on the unless it's the weekends. If you have a birthday party, you ever have what was the last time you had a birthday party, right? Like, I don't know, you maybe you've had them, but in my life I didn't have a whole bunch of birthday parties. Here everybody's birthday is celebrated. It doesn't matter if it's a Tuesday night, they coming over to your house because we're gonna have a cake. We're like, it doesn't take much for the people to be happy. And I said, you know what? I'd rather spend the rest of my days in a place where people are happy than struggling for the rest of my days, just so that one day I could have a retirement party and then, um, um, hope that I can enjoy the quality of life at, 70 something.
Look, um, I celebrated a birthday in Dominican Republic. It was a surprise birthday party. I was it was totally unexpected, man. My girl family all came out. They brought a cake, everything. And I'm like, dude, I have not had a birthday in years. Like, I don't even remember the last time I had a birthday party. And for them, it's like, hey, listen, we're gonna celebrate. It's a birthday, and it just makes you realize, like, people with less means yet have more of a joyful spirit, and yet we surrounded with abundance, but yet we're all miserable.
Exactly,
I
exactly.
mean, I mean, it's just crazy, man. Because, like, I went out earlier, like I told you, went out to a brunch party. And, everybody flossing and everything else, and I'm like, man, no one's not talking to each other. No one's not dancing with each other. Everyone's just posting up, looking at each other. Eating, dancing their own little table. I'm like, man, the waitress already messed up my damn bill by charging someone else's bill under my card, and made me realize, like, yo, I'd rather be overseas, man. Like,
So
I don't want to be here. It's like I don't want to be here, and it's just like, yeah, I understand because I live in Atlanta and I need to go out just to get out the house. But then each time I go out, always remind me, like, why I travel.
and that's how I was too for a while, right? After I had met, like, I met this girl in Mexico. We were dating. Then I had met my wife in Colombia, but of course she wasn't my wife at that time. We were just dating, and I said to myself, I found myself coming back to Atlanta and then trying to date in Atlanta, right? And now I had read the book, The Game, and I wasn't having any time. I wasn't having any hard time dating, girls in Atlanta. Like, I wasn't. I was having a really good time dating in Atlanta. But what I found was the quality, and don't get me wrong. There's plenty of nice, beautiful, attractive Black women all over, right? But the ones that I was meeting, did not they did not compete with the women that I was involved with in Latin America. And I was like, why am I trying to make this work in the States when I could just go back to Colombia?
Yeah.
Why am I trying? I remember, like, there was girls that I had relationships with, and they would call me up like, hey, what you doing? And I could go, you know what? Why? You don't even measure up. You don't measure up. So I'm like, I'm just gonna listen. I might go see her, and then, like, all right, you know what? I'm flying out in 2 weeks. All right, I'll go. Then after a while, I was like, I don't even see why I'm bothering back here. I feel torn about saying that, but it was just like the reality of of the options that I was seeing. Right, the girls that were good looking were stuck up. The ones that were really feminine, were maybe not that fit. The ones who were fit were not that feminine and very masculine. And I was like, oh my, yeah, I didn't. Now, we just lost brother Kevin Samuels,
Yeah.
and I found him, probably within the last year, and I agree with a lot of stuff that he's talked about. But that wasn't. But a lot of what he talked about was true for me even before I knew he existed. Right, I shared a lot of the same experiences, and I didn't realize that this problem with dating women was bigger than just my experience, right? I realized through him that like a lot of people are complaining about the unrealistic expectations of women,
It's
and
bad, man. It's bad.
but I started to see that, right? Well, he was showing that in his show, right? And coming here, when I met my wife, I was like, yo, she's fit, feminine, and agreeable. Like she was so agreeable, like it shocked the heck out of me, right? Like, I'll be quite honest, like I remember her telling me something that like I had never heard from no other woman before. But when we were going back and forth between like, I'm going back to Atlanta and back to Colombia, and like, she was like, look, I know you're a man, and you're a man, and you're gonna have some needs. Um, but if you're with like, somebody else, just wear some protection, right? And I don't want to know about it. I just don't want to know about it. And I was like, what? Like, I never had a woman just come out and just be that straight up with me and just like. Now the truth is, I was going to do that anyway, right? And she knows that, right? She's like, and so she just came up to me and just like, just do this. And I was like, wow. Right. Like, I mean, even to this day, like, she gives me okay, so know the culture. I talked about the culture, right?
Mhm.
Um, the culture here in Colombia, at least on the coast, um, I mean, Latino guys are hardly ever considered faithful. It's hardly ever considered faithful. It's culturally accepted that men. It's the women never really want it, but it's sort of culturally accepted that men have options, right?
Yeah.
But it's usually not tolerated when the man doesn't take care of home.
Yeah.
Right? When he doesn't take care of home and he wants to mess around, that's where a lot of women draw the line, right? Um, while if you're successful, you're taking care of home, it's almost expected that you're going to have options, and she knows it. And so, one of the things I was introduced to here is just how openly accepting of that kind of culture women can be here.
Mhm.
Oh, it's just like so mind-boggling to me. It's to the point where it's like every the okay. So going back as a high value man, in the words of Kevin Samuels, women here see value in us as being foreigners from the get go, right? You just being a foreigner automatically gives you added value over the local competition because they have been conditioned to believe that being with a man is their key in life. That's my experience. These are my words.
Mhm.
But their position in this world is based off of the man that they're attached to. And if that man happens to have a U.S. passport, that typically means he's got more resources than the guy with the Colombian passport or the Venezuelan passport or the Peruvian passport or the next whatever country that I've been to. This is what I've sort of experienced, and so um, they're they're open to they're open to accepting men who are more valuable with other women. Let me say that again. Let me say that better. They are open that a man who is of higher value is with multiple women. That was something that I did not experience in Atlanta too much.
Oh no, you can't do that.
No, I won't say too much because I actually, one time I remember dating two girls that knew each other through social media, and it was like, oh, they both knew I was dating, and they at the same time, and it was I didn't have to lie about it, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. Here, it's on a whole nother level. So having your relationships right can also be being in the right kind of relationship that you want, and you might be surprised what is available to you that you may not be able to do back in your home country. But go back to that other point and get your money right. If your money's not right, this ain't for you. And don't come down here trying to do it. Don't come down here trying to be, pimp daddy. Like if your money ain't right, don't know. But if it is, this is a
but
paradise.
but a lot of guys feel like you need to have game to be overseas. Is that true?
I think so. I certainly think so. I think that, my experiences changed as my ability to speak the language increased, right?
Okay.
Um, I, you I think you got to have game, right? You talked about this. I saw the topic. I didn't get the chance to listen to. You're lame overseas, lame at
Yeah.
back home, lame overseas. I think that if you are lame back at home and you come down here and you got a wad full of dollars, somebody's going to take advantage of you because you're lame, right? I think if you got game, if you know who you are, if you got some value. Well, first of all, I think that if you're somewhat high value or high earning, and you worked your way to get to that, you've got to have a certain amount of like wits about you in general, right? In general,
Yeah.
and you may have some game, but definitely knowing you've got it. Oh my God. If you got it back in the States and you bring it here and you know the Spanish, oh my God, what you can do. You got you can get by without having game and having money, but eventually you're gonna be thinking about, how much money it's costing you to have what you have. But if you've got the game too, it's brothers have a built-in advantage, right? If you so there's for my pickup game for me pickup was like this. I needed to build value, demonstrate scarcity, make an emotional connection, make physical touch, and anchor. That was my 5 step for dating women in Atlanta and Mexico, all that stuff, right? Um, but it was hard to me to make an emotional connection if I couldn't communicate that in their language properly. I mean,
Yeah.
you can do Google Translate, but if you can't make that emotional connection, and that comes from communicating, talking, spending, like really from talking, right? Telling your story, listening to hers. If you can't do that in her language, then you're never gonna really you could build value, you could demonstrate scarcity, you but I don't even think you could really anchor either, right? If you can't talk, right? So even if you're really good at game, if you can't communicate in her language, you're going to be at a disadvantage. And so you can only overcome that by demonstrating value and scarcity. But once you get the language, oh my God, if you got game and you can do those things, this is a paradise.
I agree with that. I agree. I think you make an effort to knowing the language is going to help you a lot. Like my Spanish have gotten really good over the years, where I feel comfortable, and just also too like making sure you look good. You in nice proper hygiene.
Mm-hmm.
Invest in yourself, guys. Invest in yourself, man. It's just Latin America. They take a lot of effort in looking good. So you gotta do the same. No matter what your size, just take pride in looking good, man. And smile. That's something I've learned a lot more in Latin America, just to smile more. Because in the States, man, we're used to just not smiling, to each other. And now by me smiling more, now the habit just comes out naturally. I notice that the energy that I pull out, the energy that I push out, always come back in a positive way to me.
So that is one of the things that I read was one of the strongest characteristics of an alpha male, and it's his smile. It's not his arm, his muscles. It's not his physique. It's your smile. That alpha. That's a trait of alpha men. So yes, do it more. And yes, you'd be surprised how far that goes. That confidence that comes behind that smile too.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, man, it's an hour and 45 minutes, man. Man, this has been a great call. I definitely want to have you back on again because there's some things I want to talk about around relationship, and I think a lot of guys are curious to have a relationship with a foreigner, and I think it's something that we need to talk about the do's and don'ts. There's a lot of YouTubers out there just selling this false narrative that just show up and they'll love you, they will worship you, and they'll be submissive, and I'm like, what?
Mm,
And
well, yeah, this.
yeah, see, again, this is another podcast because I feel
Yeah.
like I understand certain YouTubers are saying things for views, and they taking advantage of the guy's desperation to find love. But
Right.
for me, I'm all about transparency. I'm all about keeping it real to the point where, listen, yeah, a girl will do all those things just to get what she wants from you, but don't get it twisted. She got a poppy back home,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
or her
Exactly.
cousin. She's smashing her cousin that's really her boyfriend.
Dude. I'm telling you some of this. I know of some of the stuff I know from girls. I know a girl who this girl is. She's a very good looking girl. I would never smash this girl, right? Um, but through my connections with people, I got to hear her story, and she lives in her family, her husband and kids live in Santa Marta, which is like a
Mhm.
4 hour drive from Cartagena. And she comes to Cartagena, and she brings other girls from her her surrounding department, and she has an apartment here in Pedra la Popa, just like maybe 5 minutes outside of El Centro, 10 minutes
Mhm.
outside of El Centro. And the girls pay her rent. She brings the girls to work on the boats where they're doing all kinds of whatever sexual fantasies the guys want, and she goes home every so many weeks or weekends back to her husband, smiles, takes pictures, oh, I'm back with my husband, the love of my life. What the heck? like like what kind of guy sends, because he knows what she does, right?
Yeah.
Like what kind of guy sends her
No,
what?
this is common in Latin America. And
Yes.
again, I want to save this conversation for the next podcast. Definitely when I get
Sure.
back definitely when I come back from El Salvador. But I think this is a much needed conversation because again, I'm not calling out any YouTubers, but they selling a lot of bad goods to you guys about this relationship, finding love overseas. Yes, you could find it, but it's not as easy as you think. And also, too, you don't want any type of love, man. You want to make sure that that person that you're investing in is also investing in yourself. And she understand like, yo, this is the goal that you're trying to reach, and she understand the plan is. She's not doing it for her own self good. So definitely Max. Max is in a relationship. I'm also in a relationship. We have a few other brothers that I know. I actually attended the Rob wedding in Cartagena about 2 months ago. So
Right.
I want to get the brothers together, man. Like maybe on a Friday, Saturday night, or a Sunday. Like let's chop it up, man. Let's just give these guys the real deal as far as what really goes on, because a lot of guys don't understand these girls that you call your girlfriend have a husband or have a boyfriend, well, that he actually knows everything that you're doing to her.
Oh, if you ain't here, yeah.
So I mean, definitely want to have that conversation, man. But I think this was a great introduction to this series. I'm starting an expat series where I interview guys like yourself who are living the good life overseas, but also giving guys the tips and tricks and how to actually do it themselves. And I love the fact that you're able to highlight those 5 tips. And I hope guys take the time to listen to it and really take it all in. Put yourself in a position mentally, financially, and physically to live overseas. It's just not, I'm just gonna live overseas and have no plan of action.
No.
So any last word for you, Max?
Let go of complacency. Let go of complacency. Get up, start doing something today that gets you closer to the dream that you want for tomorrow.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And again, guys, we'll definitely have more of these conversations. And again, guys, put yourself in a position to win domestically and overseas. And my goal is to actually invite other expats who are working remotely in the technology space, in the cloud space, project management, to really give you guys, how to find the right jobs where you could actually work overseas and maybe have 2, 3, 4 contracts, and be just like Max. But Max, definitely I want to have you on again because you have something that you're working on. You're working on a documentary, right? About
Yeah,
relationships.
look, I'll save that for the next one,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah, yeah. For the next one, I know
Yeah,
that's why I want to reach out to you again because I think I'm gonna have you a few more times because there's some things that you and I talked about offline
yeah,
and you share with Bob because I'm like, shit, that's kind of cool.
yeah.
And
This,
I don't know.
it's,
I just feel like you have amazing experience overseas and you have a lot to share to the masses. And I think this would be a perfect place to do it. So just wanted to say thank you on a Sunday, making yourself available and sharing the 5 tips of having an amazing expat life. Your wife is a lucky woman to have you because I know she's like, hey, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not fucking this shit up. It's like, but again, more conversations to
yeah,
come. Definitely, the next one will be about relationship. It's time for me to bust some bubbles, man. And again, guys, you can find love. You can find genuine
yeah.
love. And one thing about overseas, when these women love you, they love you. And to the point
You
where they
touched on
make,
that.
huh?
You touched on it. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about that. When I met my wife, I wasn't sure if she was playing games with me, if this was fake. But I'm telling you, I never found a woman in my life who loves me the way she loves me. I mean, I could do some old fucked up shit and she'll turn around tomorrow and love me like nothing ever happened. And I'm like, I keep on waiting for her to say, "Oh, but you know what? My grandmother needs the surgery. Can you get no?" Like she like when you just said it, when they love you with some kind. Oh, it's crazy how much they show you love, um, and you could be man. She came in.
Hey, save this conversation for the next one. I'm definitely gonna schedule it. I'll probably schedule it as soon as I get back from El Salvador on the 15th. Definitely, it seems like we have a lot to say on this. So I'm gonna definitely reach out to Rob, reach out to Steven, and some other guys who are in the same situation that you're in. So thank you again, Max, man. Thank you for everyone for stopping by and listening to the podcast. More to come. I'm definitely going to put out a trip report, video, pictures of my trip in El Salvador. This is a vacation, Max. I'm taking sand to the beach, man. I'm bringing my girl out there to El Salvador. She's flying from DR to El Salvador. I'm meeting her there, and this is our second trip together. That's this is our second trip together to another country. So I'm looking forward to that and basically celebrating her birthday, man. So 6 days in El Salvador, man. We got a lot of things planned. We're gonna be hitting out the city, the West Coast, and doing all types of activities. So I'll keep you guys posted. You're definitely gonna be seeing a lot of videos, a lot of drone footage, pictures, everything. I'm bringing my entire gear out there, man. So this is like a work trip, but also a vacation. More to come definitely next week. I'll be out of pocket for the next few days, but I definitely, be active in the Facebook group, let you guys know what's going on. And I'll be setting up the other podcast for the following week when I get back. Thank you again, everybody, for joining in and look forward to speaking to you guys in the future, man. Have a great day. Have a productive week and be safe out there, guys. And good night. Thank you.